Hi, Shane. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Oh, great.
What's up?
You look a bit different. You had a haircut?
Yeah, I had a haircut. You look slick.
I had a haircut too.
Mm, great hairs, think I like them.
Yeah. So what's been your recent experience?
With what?
Hmm.
I'm never really sure what to comment on. Like I could, pick things to complain about or tell some good things that have happened, it's like
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty open-ended question, I guess, isn't it?
yeah, and then sort of whatever you pick, then like it's always I don't know, it always seems to be. I think I don't know, maybe unconsciously you pick whatever you pick for a reason. Maybe sometimes consciously, I don't know, that's how I feel.
Hmm. I guess I'm interested in things like have you been triggered a lot lately?
Yeah, I get triggered by things. Um, um, I got triggered by my workplace introducing a dress code that I didn't like aspects of. And that was kind of interesting because it was like I can see it being directly related to my own schooling. And well, and that's part of it. Um, anyway, what annoyed me about that was that they had written in there things to do with hair and beards, and to me that causes quite a big reaction. Um, and the feeling is that it's an infringement on my body. And so there's like many stories, like the mind really has gotten to work coming up with lots of like interesting things about why that I think it's BS. Um, and so I'm kind of sitting there trying to tell myself that I don't need to have any kind of reaction about this, especially there. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, I'm imagining myself going and explaining, you know, X, Y, and Z of why I think this is BS. But I kind of think that that's probably a bad idea because I don't think anybody would care anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So, but that was definitely an example of a very, very clear, very quick trigger from this week. Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep. So obviously the way you react is what's relevant here.
Hmm.
It sounds like what happened is essentially that you got up into your head with a whole lot of stories about why it was bullshit and why you shouldn't be reacting, etc. Is that fairly
I, I,
accurate?
I I think they're yeah, both those stories are there. The
Mm,
stories of why I think dress codes are bullshit and the story of why I shouldn't. be reacting.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah.
So did you go looking at what was happening in the body rather than get involved in what was happening in the head?
I think I actually forgot to do that.
Yeah, okay. Which is a pretty normal reaction. I mean, what when we get triggered, we
Mm,
jump to our habitual, if you like, distractions from the unpleasantness of being
yeah.
triggered. Yeah. Um, and it's appropriate
Yeah.
not to have a judgment about that. So, like involved in the story of I should not be triggered or I should not be feeling this way. Uh, of course, are judgments about the fact that you did get triggered. Hey,
Yeah.
how do we, or is it even possible that we don't react in a habitual way to these things?
Yeah, like I think I tried to think along those kind of lines and then because I think I've got a conditioned part of me. So it seems to be related to like my old like I remember in high school that the principal that was there for most of the time off that school was very image based, you know.
Yep, yep. Okay.
Do up your tie, socks up, shave your beard, cut your long hair. And I guess there was probably other reasons, like, but I definitely rebelled against that and always hated it. But then it has also happened to me afterwards. I guess I'm just naturally maybe laid back about that kind of thing. Like I just don't really care that much. Um, and I'm always curious about people projecting their opinions, how I see it,
Yep,
about how others should look.
yep, yep. And especially people in power.
Exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, yeah, anyway, so I did what you're saying, like I did sort of realize so my habit, my conditioning is to like rebel against this
Yep.
authority. But
And
for me to
just,
break my conditioning, I would like have to go and like do what they want me to do, which is not what I want to do.
yep, yeah,
I go and, shave my beard or, you know, like it's not that they were saying you can't have a beard, but it's like, oh, you can't come in with stubble kind of thing, and I'm just like, who cares about this? Like,
yeah, 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 yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and then because it hasn't been a problem at that place for like a few years, I'm like, why is this a problem all of a sudden? Do you know? So it just doesn't make sense to me.
So one of the things that jumps out for me is that a really positive thing is that you saw the connection between this particular episode and where it came from, back in school, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one it was really obvious. Like, yeah, super obvious. This one, like,
Mm.
yeah. So
I would put it to you that even though you saw that connection with the school situation, that very likely actually existed even before that. But that's
that tendency
yes,
before the school situation,
yes. So any authority figure, mm,
I
how
think
can I put it? Yeah.
I'd say so. I have kind of thought before that it seems to be whatever the status quo ends up being, I'll just have to rebel against that. It doesn't. That just seems to be how it
Mm,
goes.
yep.
Right?
And it goes further. It's not just that you are compelled to rebel, but that there's an underlying thing that says something about fairness. It's not fair that these people can impose stuff on you. They're
Yeah,
not taking. They're not. They're not. they're not giving any credibility to your own. They're just overriding you.
Yeah, that's correct. And I like your insight to fairness. I maybe haven't thought of that word in there. But yeah, that's basically how I feel about it. That's why there's a it brings up like I suppose a defensive
Yep.
reaction where it's like, well, if you want to do that to me, how would you like it if I do X, Y, and Z to you? Because I see that as being an equal
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. That should
reaction, you know?
it should apply. That it's equal in both directions. But of course, the
Mhm.
unfairness part of it is that it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that comes to mind is it there is no there's no value in having any thoughts about how you reacted or that you should not have reacted in this way, etc., or about the actual issue itself. It isn't the issue that's the issue. It is what triggered the issue that is the issue. If you get that weird little
Yes, I
thing,
understand what
yeah.
you're saying.
And
Yeah.
and where the value for you is not in doing it or not doing it, wanting it not to happen or anything like that, or especially in justifying what what your stance is in the situation. The issue, the value for you is in simply at whatever point the recognition turns up that that's what happened. That moment, that might now that moment's not likely to be in the midst of it, um, because of the nature of the trigger. You know, we just kind of erupt when that kind of thing happens, and it's so fast, so instantaneous that it's almost impossible to see it as it's happening. But very quickly afterwards, you see what's gone on. And that moment of seeing is where the value is for you. And that's what is likely, that seeing is likely to change the way you get triggered.
Mm.
Without effort, without intention, just recognizing, oh, I got triggered, even without a connection to what the trigger was about, is enough for you to next time see it sooner until at some point you're almost seeing it as it happens fairly quickly, and then it happens less. It happens, you know, it'll start not to happen. But none of that happens with intention or with effort. It's just the seeing of it where the power is.
The seeing the moment of being triggered.
Seeing the moment of recognizing that you are being triggered.
Yeah.
So it puts us in a kind of a wonderfully positive, helpless situation where there's absolutely nothing we can do other than wait. And we can't even wait because when we get triggered, we get triggered. But at some point there'll be the recognition that, oh, I was triggered. And that's the moment where the value is for you in changing the old habits.
Mm.
That they not that you're going to change them, but the recognition of the fact that you were triggered is what will change them. So there's a
Yeah.
surrender and an acceptance and a discovery about that fact. And so the moment you get triggered and you go, oh, bugger, I shouldn't be feeling this. And especially if you then get up into the mind and come up with reasons why it's wrong and unfair and all that kind of stuff, you just escape from that realization. It's a distraction. The realization is where the power is. It's kind of simple, but it's very, very powerful. And it's just something that can happen or will happen or not happen. It'll always happen that you'll recognize simply because you're here and you've had this interest in things. It will always happen that sooner or later you will recognize that you were triggered. And when you do that, you just go, okay, that's all that needs to happen. Ah, okay, I was triggered. See, it's not about the hair or the beard. It's about you feeling infringed upon. If that's good grammar, I don't know. It's probably not, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, you're feeling violated in a way, really. I mean, violated is a bit stronger a word, but it is like that, isn't it?
Well, I think that that makes sense though, like, because I guess like I could easily connect that, especially if you use that word, like I can easily connect that to other events. And so to me, it makes sense to have a strong reaction
Mm.
to that. And that's why I also kind of think that like other people, like many other people don't, I want to say don't seem to see it, don't see it the same way. Like they just don't care,
Yeah,
you know.
they
They're
don't have
just like,
that.
oh, whatever,
Oh,
what's the problem with this?
yeah,
There's no problem. And to me, it's just like, how can,
yeah. How can you not? That's right.
that
Yeah,
confuses me. So I
yeah,
think I understand what you're saying about like recognizing the moment of being triggered. I think like I feel like I can do that like pretty quickly, but what happens is I'll lose it. So I'll see it,
yeah, yeah. And then mine takes over.
and
Yeah,
then the mind takes over, and it's still valuable because it like if you see it, then I can choose to react or not.
mm,
But then, yeah, the mind is still strong enough that it will just be like it'll just go
yeah,
coming up with all this stuff, and it's just
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So somewhere, as that kind of stuff happens for you, and there's a bit of an irony in that it would be good if it happened again soon. It would be good if this same kind of thing it gave you the opportunity to whatever. But anyway, what you're going to discover, and it may well happen that you'll see little glimpses of stories and so on, and it will go back to when you were really young, when you felt that you saw something that others weren't seeing. And the consequence of that was that you recognized you had a perspective that others just didn't have.
mm,
Right? So it
yeah,
may well be a teacher at school imposing his idea on you, or it may be a parent imposing their idea on you, but they were telling you something that you knew was wrong.
yeah, yeah. I can relate to a few of those things. Yeah,
So it's kind of like now we just wait for life to offer us another opportunity to see that. And it will happen for sure.
yeah, yeah. Probably won't take that long.
People are always telling us what to do and how to feel and what to think and so on. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really difficult to communicate the I don't know how to say it, the fantastic value of just recognizing, seeing what's going on without without any kind of opinion about it or judgment, because that reduces it. That sucks the power out of the seeing when we have it, when we get we we negate it when we start thinking about it. Just the seeing itself is so powerful, so amazing.
yeah. It's hard to stay there.
Yeah.
I find it's easy, especially when I'm with other people, like it's really easy to just like get sucked into
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah. But even and that's possibly still a good opportunity. It's maybe less potent than the original one, but nevertheless, again, we will see it. We'll see that we've been sucked in at some point or another. And there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
being sucked in, you know, it's just a case of, okay, that's what happened. And if we get the idea that, okay, it's there's value in me recognizing that I was sucked in, and then the next thing you realize is that you're off in your head saying, you know, why it's wrong and so on, then you will also see that that was a suck in that you got carried away by.
Yeah.
So there'll be a second opportunity to recognize something had happened.
Mm.
It's changing entrenched pathways in the brain that we're really doing when we do this kind of stuff. And the thing is that one of the powerful things is that when we see that we've been sucked in, it short circuits it. And so consequently it doesn't get a chance to get finished, and that frustrates it, and that kind of weakens that pathway pretty effectively. And then at the same time, the idea that just seeing is where the value is, that starts to establish a new pathway in a different part of the brain, over in the right brain. And so it's every opportunity is there, and there's opportunity within opportunity within opportunity kind of thing. So there's nothing can be wrong. Everything is an opportunity if it's like that.
To see what's happening in the moment, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything is an opportunity to do that. Yeah.
Has been things been for you, Maya?
Baby steps, baby steps. Uh, to what was just said, was just being said here. I think I have the habit now of seeing many little triggers dispersed everywhere. There's a trigger everywhere, around the corner, here, in the other room, seeing something, starting thinking. Oh, I'm thinking now. Oh, I'm thinking again. So I had a few moments this few days. First, flying to Zagreb, always on the plane. It's fruitful for me. Uh, and watching out the window, the weather was nice over Germany, and I could see all the cities in the night. And at some point, I saw what was Stuttgart, I think. And it was so beautiful. And there were thoughts, oh, how beautiful it is. Oh. And then I just felt this thought to be in middle of something, in middle of a space. But now I'm sitting in a plane, and the new dimension to whole to this space that I perceive around the thoughts was that it's much bigger than I thought before, because I have now the feeling that there is a vast space above me, a vast space below me, which I cannot see normally. So somehow the space where the thoughts are, when I perceive them as thoughts, is bigger than I'm able to think somehow. And this was also wow, what a moment. But I was so excited. I got so excited about it that it was gone. It was soon gone. and I perceived the tendency to narrate it all. I started to tell a story to myself how beautiful it is. Oh, how I discovered the moment, and so on. So it was gone. It was there and it was gone. And the second thing, in my class, I decided to watch the moments when I feel inadequate. And somehow it wasn't very fruitful, but there were some, but there wasn't much in it. So I missed it this time. Maybe next week. We'll see. And then the third thing, again, my parents had a little fight. They must have it every day, even when I'm not there. It might be even worse than I know, but this is the situation now. Because my mom decided to mop the floor with a tea towel, and my dad didn't want to allow it because we know that the tea towel would end up with the dishes again because everything gets mixed up. So he tried to save the situation, and she was so upset that he was telling her what to do. She cannot be told what to do, and she needs to be told now, but she doesn't know. So she got very, very upset, and I got triggered. And I recognized it right away. I'm triggered now. And I thought then, oh, what an opportunity now. Okay, I feel it in my body. I have thoughts. I somehow know what it is. It's the emotional because and what she did after being told what she needs to do, she said, "Oh, I'm fainting. I'm not feeling well," and she needs to lay down. And I thought, yes, this is this emotional blackmail. For whole my life, you're not feeling well, and I start being scared for you and everything. So, and I feel like I need to comfort you now. I feel like I need to resolve the situation between my parents. I'm the parent to my parents, but I don't want to be anymore. And I just said to her, "So lay down here, okay?" And I sat a meter away from her, and I think to myself, I don't want to comfort you now. I'm sitting with my feelings, with my sensations, with my thoughts. And somehow there was too much to do at that moment. First, to recognize my situation, to observe myself, which I was able to do. And the second thing, to try to look for as these are thoughts and there is space around them, they are in a space, to look how this space around is. This is what we told the last time. Try to see the calmness in the space around this trigger, around these emotions. And I was looking at the space. Okay, it was calmer, but I'm still not able to experience the whole. It's not clear to me. It's not exactly clear to me how calm it is. So this is where I am now. But the situation was somehow, oh, there's so much to do now for me. I have so much work. And I didn't want to comfort my mom. I didn't engage with her. And maybe because I didn't engage this time and I didn't try to comfort her, she was lying there for maybe 10 minutes. And then she was all up again and everything was fine again. Remembering that she doesn't want to, she wants to use the towel that she wants to use, okay. But never mind. But somehow I didn't feed her reaction. And I think it lasted for shorter. It's my hypothesis now. I'm not sure still. I need to try it out sometime
Yes.
again.
Yep. Yep. Mm.
Yeah. And yesterday on a flight, it was a very unpleasant flight, lots of turbulences. And first, okay, we're shaking, and I'm observing myself, expecting fear. But at first, there was no fear. And I was a little bit, where's the fear? So at first, it's just the sensation of shaking, okay, and my thoughts. And then as it lasted for a while and it came again, it came back at some point, suddenly there was a thought, oh, these are really the worst turbulences I had in these 5 years in flying. And this thought triggered the fear as a sensation. So I observed the fear, not much out of it, I would say, the fear and the space around it. So these were my days.
Hmm.
Baby
And you
steps, as I say.
and you saw how the thoughts triggered the fear.
Yes, somehow. Still thinking that the thoughts triggered the fear and there's a causation.
Mm.
Okay.
There's a
I'm
double
not
thing
away
there,
from
isn't there? Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Um, go back to the classroom situation, and you were looking for something that you didn't
it.
find in the classroom. You were hoping or expecting to see something about your feelings of inadequacy. Would that be right?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
but
yes.
not expecting, just trying to see where are they and how are they. If the feelings arise, what
Okay, yep, yep, yep. Okay,
what
that's enough.
quality do
That's
they
enough.
have?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so what I would suggest is that you don't look for something, right? Re recognize that when you're looking for something, that there is an idea of what it is you're looking for, and that is in the future.
Okay. Okay,
So,
okay.
so we adopt the explorer attitude where you're standing on a hilltop waiting to see whatever might appear.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the question is what is there and not what might be there.
exactly. What is happening currently? Yeah. And that's where, of course, you
Okay.
start to recognize the ideas that say maybe this, maybe that. And then you go,
Okay.
but it could be unicorns or pink elephants. Who knows? Let's just watch.
Mm.
We're not looking
Somehow
for anything. You go,
at some point I found the thought that I don't have time to do this now because I have to talk to them
oh
and we
yeah,
have
yep, yep,
to
yep,
talk about something. So there's
yeah,
not always time to do this.
yeah, yeah. That's an interesting one, um, and it's appropriate to consider the possibility that you could do both at the same time, right? So that you're not putting everything into watching your thoughts. That's kind of happening at the same time as you're talking. I mean, we all do that all the time. You're doing two things at once or 10 things at once, and you don't even realize that you're doing all those things at once. So when you're talking, if you're walking around as you're talking, you're noticing that you're not going to bump into the chair or the wall or whatever, and you don't even know that you're noticing that, but you are noticing that. So because you walk in a way that doesn't cause problems. So you can also can have that little part of you that's almost split off is not the right way to put it, but it's kind of like that there's a part of you watching what's going on for you, and you can even say to yourself for later consideration, right? So in other words,
Okay.
you're storing your reactions in memory to look at a bit later, but at the same
Mm.
time as you're talking to your class. So it's not like you have to do one or the other.
It was a similar I had a similar moment with my mom when I tried to divide my attention between the feeling and sensation and the calmness, looking for calmness. I
Yes.
really noticed that I'm splitting the attention there.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah,
can try. I can try that.
we're quite good at doing that kind of thing. We do it all the time. We just don't notice we're doing it. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
You are mostly, it seems to me, from what you talk, what you say, and the way you say it, it seems to me that you are mostly in that explorer mode. You're there, open to what might turn up, and you're certainly recognizing things being different to the way they used to be in things. You know, the fact that that fear didn't turn up until a later trigger came along. That was really interesting, wasn't it? All of a sudden, you know, we go,
Mm,
oh, okay, I don't need to do what I used to do. It's different.
mm,
Yeah, yeah. I like what I hear from you. Which I almost always do, but yeah,
yeah.
it's good. Yeah.
And then comes my sentence and waiting for results, and this is impatience. And okay, I'll observe this impatience.
Yes. Well, even better than that, right? Recognize that you're using a label when you say impatience. What actually is going on for you that you call impatience? And it's going to be
It's the
sensations plus stories.
pull sensation. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sensation plus stories, pull sensation. And well, there is something in the body that I don't want to talk about. There is something I feel, but the pull sensation and the story,
yeah,
I would like to see the awakening
yes, 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 yeah.
when it's going to be here. And it's never be there for me. Not for me.
No,
No.
no, no, it won't, you won't. Yeah, it's kind of exciting. Yeah, there's a really weird kind of concept that I was speaking about with somebody this morning at a meeting this morning, and anyway, it was like what I was saying is a, yeah, okay, something along the lines of a seeker, if they think they know what awakening is, almost certainly will be wrong.
Mm,
But then if a seeker thinks they know what awakening is not, they're also going to be wrong. So a seeker has no idea about awakening. And an awakened person knows that the whole thing is bullshit. There's nothing achieved, there's nothing gained, there's nothing. It's just a concept to describe a perspective, if you like.
obviously, the seeker has no business to think.
Yes, yes, that's right. Yeah, well put. Yeah, because they're always going to be up the garden path. They're always going to be wrong. They're distractions. Any of those thoughts. Yeah, yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes, of course, of course.
Well, Maya, you say, oh, baby steps, baby steps. But for me, this is impressive.
Yeah, me too.
I'm
Thanks,
learning from you.
thanks.
And
But
you have such a methodical approach in your practice. It's, oh, nice.
you know, I was listening to so many people, starting with Shinzen Yang, then Daniel Ingram, then with all their methods. They have different methods. Then Angelo Di Lullo, Rupert Spira, John Wheeler, anyone. But when I found Pernille is so systematic. Oh, I thought this is it. The system is what I need. I need just someone to tell me do this, then do that. Yeah. Different people, different needs, I think. And this is what was it for me. And Pernilla always says, go to Mrs. Meeting. So here I am.
There is a great attraction to the structure. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and then we're there, kind of thing. Yeah. It's and a lot of people grasp the concept of the fetters in that way. They go, oh yes, this is great because I know where I am and I can go step by step through the fetters. But it's the same thing. It's not like that. But yeah.
But it helps. It helps, and I'm here because of it. Because Vince tells me every time, concentrate on this, concentrate on that. He gives me little tasks because before it was years for me. I started one thing and I didn't know if it was going well or not. And then started the other thing, let the first thing go. Maybe the first thing, if I stayed with it, maybe the first thing would have yielded some results, and I don't know. I really need someone to hold me accountable, to watch, because there are people who know something, so they can help if you, yeah, if you miss something.
Well, let me
This
tell
helps.
you, when you wake up, you'll realise I don't know anything.
You know how to help people to wake up. If I wake up, then I will know that you know.
Yeah. Now,
I'm
what?
curious, Maja.
Yes.
What is your expectations of awakening? What do you think it is?
Ooh, you know, there can be two things simultaneously. There is some expectation, there is some idea that I might know how it will be, so I expect it. And on the other hand, I know that I have to let go and not know anything and not expect anything. So it's both at the same time. It may it's maybe not in the same moment, but it comes and goes. One comes and the other goes, and vice versa.
So, and during the times where you are not able to drop it, how does it look? Like what does it mean to be awakened, do you think?
Impatience, this impatience.
No, but I mean, like
I'm not there yet.
what is what is the uh, what is the outcome? What is the end goal?
What I see as the outcome.
Yes.
First, not or no. I'll be triggered. I'll be triggered sometimes, but I will know. I will know that I was triggered, as I knew that I was triggered with my mom yesterday. It's the same, which leads me to think now that it won't be any different than it's now. I don't.
But why do you want to be awakened?
I don't know, because it's pulling me all my life. Something's pulling me. And in the first session, Vince asked if it's spiritual for me or psychological. And I said it used to be spiritual, but it's now psychological, because I know I have to clean up some stuff. and I'm cleaning up some stuff. But then I don't know. I don't know. What I expect. Wait. I expect being less pulled by the wants and less pushed by the not wants, which will mean calmer and less hurting, so to speak.
Yeah. That doesn't sound unreasonable.
But I do have some unreasonable thoughts, and I do have that things that will be happening around me, that they will somehow, that I will be able to. No, I don't know how to say. The things that will be happening will happen in with some sense and order. For example, when I wake up, I will find a new job. I will think something new to do. But I'm watching you. You are more advanced than me, and still, this is
And still,
our
I'm
common
stuck.
problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is some magical thinking in it. There is some magical thinking. I will deal with it when the time comes.
Yeah. I find the reason why I asked is I find that a lot of people, including myself for a long while, um, was chasing something I couldn't really define. So I was just chasing awakening, but didn't really know what I was chasing. Um, and then when I boiled it down, I was clear on my expectations, and it sort of was easier to drop something I knew what was when I instead of like having some sort of expectation I couldn't even define. Because it's like been said, you before it happens, there's all these crazy ideas of what it is, which is bound to be wrong. And so dropping the expectation of what it is was that's not something I did. That was just something that happened on the way, obviously, but that was a huge shift for me at least. So I was just wondering how that played out in your mind.
Well, with how it goes, I think I dropped lots of expectations. I did have expectations, like really magical thinking, but I dropped it, especially because I saw that the expectations are a part of a problem. Stories of future, and then Pernille has also a little thing with expectations where she really explains it very good. She says, if you have expectations, then you, like a banana in a supermarket. Someone snaps a banana in front of you, and you had the expectation that banana belongs to you. So now someone snapped the banana in front of you, and now you're a victim because you didn't get your banana. So she really explained the expectation to me through this. So the expectation and the victimizing myself for things, this was helpful. So the expectations went for me, not all, of course, and they sneak on me, of course, but not all, not anymore, not all of them.
Yeah, I also find that expectations can kind of help perpetuate our seeking. So if, like, for example, Dennis who's here. I don't know if he's here, but he's fully awake, but he thinks that he's not because he's expecting something else. And that I did that for the longest time as well. This is one of the last hurdles. So I was like, oh, okay. Again. So yeah.
I mean, this he's fully awake, but he doesn't know. It's so funny.
Yeah. I don't think it's funny to him though, and I really
Yeah,
sympathize with that. But
he suffers.
it's just so like it's you're there, but you don't. And I really I know I know the frustration deeply intimate around that.
Maya, do you think that somebody that we use the label of being awake for ever has expectations?
But I have to remember myself what I said. I said when Marius asked what do I expect, I said first about the triggers, and then I said okay, I know that will be some triggers, but I'll be able to cope with them. So it must be the same for expectations then. There will be some expectations, but I will be able to cope.
Okay, okay. So, yeah, so maybe a way to put it is not cope, but rather if I have an expectation, it it jumps out as being really obvious that I have an expectation, and it's just a
Okay.
story that gets dismissed. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So it can still happen. I don't know. Um, so one thing. Well, the next question. Do you think that somebody who is awake has arrived at some place where there's no further learning?
Not anymore. Not
No.
anymore.
Good, 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 good.
I see now there's no bottom,
Yes, absolutely.
or,
Good,
or
good,
there
good stuff.
there
Yeah,
is no sky.
right. Okay, next question. Do you think that somebody who is awake has has any issues with what is? That's a bit vague, that one, but do you get what I mean?
Uh, I think so. With what is, it can be, but this person can handle it mostly
Yeah,
because there will be problems. I will have my mom for a certain time. I will have my cousin to care for.
yeah.
I
There's
will have
always something, isn't there? Yeah,
uh, there are difficult situations to handle,
yeah.
but this how you handle them and how much they weigh on you, this is the difference, I think.
Mm.
I don't know. This is how I think about it now, but I think
Mm.
about
Mm.
it, which is nothing.
Yeah, of course.
I
It's
I am
thinking.
I I learned to, although the thoughts sneak up on me and sometimes they cover me completely and carry me away, I still I see them more often. I catch myself thinking more often, and I somehow know now that thinking anything is nothing, actually. I can think this or that, but something will be maybe in this and that way, maybe in a third way, maybe
Yep, yep,
some
yep.
other way.
This is a really interesting point. Something that I've come across on quite a few occasions in Liberation Unleashed with guiding people. People like Dennis, people who are. See, I would just to play with it, the idea that Marius put, right, that Dennis is awake but he doesn't know it. I would go as far as to say Dennis is awake but he doesn't know it, and so therefore he's not awake. Now, not when I say therefore, I don't mean therefore, but the reality is he's not awake, and it's not because he's not awake. He is awake. He's not awake because he doesn't know that he's awake. And what's the difference? Right, so I'm just playing with this here, and what the difference is stories. It's stories all the way down. Nobody is ever without stories. Everybody has stories all the time. The difference between you and me is that I have a story that I'm awake and you have a story that you're not awake. Same with Dennis. He has a story that he's not awake. And Marius has a story that he is awake. Now, also, as with included in that story of being awake is that the whole idea of being awake is total rubbish. It's just a concept that we play with. That's all for the purposes of this exercise that we're going through at the moment. So if you were able to, I'll take that back. If you find that you can accept whatever turns up for you, whatever it is, as simply what turns up for you, and the consequences of that are whatever response happens to that, then you'll be there. You're awake. It's only that little bit of you that says, oh, I've got something to clean up before I can call myself awake. And there'll always be that little something else until there isn't. But when you are awake, those things are still there. Except guess what? You're kind of relaxed about what you do with them because you're not saying, oh, they're wrong. You're not saying, I've got to fix it. You're not saying a whole lot of things that you now say, it shouldn't be there or whatever. So there's no difference between us except the stories, your story that you're not awake, my story that I am awake. That's the difference. That's all. Now, you can't tell
And
yourself to believe that story. Go on, Marius.
no, I just wanted to shoot in that by the difference in stories, you also have a case of seeking and not seeking. So
Yes.
if you're still seeking, you're still
Yes.
suffering, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If you've got the story that you're not awake, then you're going to be still seeking. So
And
that's
that,
a really big thing. The big question, if somebody's awake or not, ask them if they're still seeking there. And if they say there's no seeking anymore, there might be curiosity about what might turn up, but there's no seeking, then they're awake. That's about all there is to it. So when you're awake, that doesn't mean you don't have these things that you're having anymore. They'll still be there. And you will still be curious about how they can change, what will happen.
But there's still a difference. I mean, we are living our lives, and whatever comes, we have to accept it because it is what it is, whether we
Well,
like it or not.
yeah, you don't have to accept it. You can't not accept it. It's just there. It is. It's there. How can you not accept it?
No, you have to accept it. I remember going to give a birth. I thought at that moment, oh, now there is no way around. I have to go right through it. There is no way back. Uh,
That's a perfect example. Yeah, great metaphor. I love
yeah,
it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Once you're there, there's nothing else to do. You have to go through it this
yeah,
way or another.
yeah.
And uh, now there are people who are accepting life as it is and not complaining much. There is us. We used to complain, but now we are somehow learning not to complain, but to accept. But I see the difference between these two groups of people in that we are observing ourselves, and those who are born without the need to complain, they just somehow sit and wait what will come. This this observing of mine, seeing that there are thoughts and this is it, this is that, and there's a space in which everything occurs, thoughts and feelings and myself and everything. This is different, right? It's a different kind of accepting life.
Yeah, I mean, of course it is. You know, there's a resignation, a victim attitude of accepting, or there's an excitement about opportunity in accepting. And we can't choose one or the other. It happens or not.
Um, I have to go, but I wanted to ask real quick. That there is no more seeking when you are awake. And like Maja said, and I agree, but I feel this more in this sense, not that I am seeking, but that something is pulling me. Or as I say, that I am following the scent. So it's more like there is a scent and it triggers the following in me. And so this pulling or this following the scent stops when you are awakened, or when there is awakened.
For me, that's true.
Well, you could because you and I agree with you, Vince. You do say that there is still curiosity, and I would kind of liken that to following the scent in a way. I am still curious.
Yes. And
So,
there is a kind of it's metaphorical perhaps, but there is a direction to face. I still face in a certain direction. So it's not like I'm compelled to. It's like that's where the ice cream is. So like following the scent, yes.
Oh, so now I don't know if I am awakened or not. I don't know if Vince is awakened.
Yeah,
It's all very suspicious. Okay, I have to go. Bye.
do you get that it's not an achievement? There's no badge, there's no certificate, it's not an achievement to get here.
I want to joke now, but I don't work without a badge. I don't work
Okay. Right. There is ice
every
cream
joke
though.
is
There is ice cream.
every joke is at least half a truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. There was for me, and I'm remembering I'm remembering that it was the case that whatever happened, it was fine. And then mind come in and said, well, of course that's the case. How can it be any other way? But it was a distinct feeling of everything is okay, no matter what it is. And many of those
This
things were learning opportunities.
this is the feeling and the thought. This was the magic moment when I was sick. And when this thought came to me, everything is okay. If I die, if I live, it's okay.
Yeah.
And this was the moment of surrendering. Yes, the mind came later, and I live in the mind after that. But this was the moment I will really remember very well. And after that, there was magic. I came to information, I came to people I couldn't contact before. I was looking for them, actively looking for them, but nothing was accessible to me. After that, it was really funny how things fell into place.
Mm.
I'm hmm, I'm looking for this moment of surrender again. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm searching.
Where are you searching for it?
Here, in this group, talking to you, talking to everyone.
Okay, I can tell you where it is, and this group and this talking might reveal where it is, but where it is in you, already in you. It's already there. So looking for it outside, looking for it in the future because you think it's not there now is a distraction. It actually already exists in you now, right now. And do you have to see it, or can you just know it's there? Is it
I
only the
cannot
mind
know.
that wants proof?
Because when you said it now, I had all kinds of really this pushing, pulling feelings many of them at once. So it's not here for me at the moment. I have to.
When you say it's not here for me at the moment, I would put to you that what you really mean is that you're not aware of it at the moment and you assume it's not here.
I'm resisting to acknowledge it.
Hmm. Well, you're not going to fake acknowledging it, and you're not going to acknowledge it unless you've got some proof or some indication that it exists. But you can acknowledge that it could be anywhere and you simply don't know. And that anywhere could include within you. I mean, that's a logical thing, isn't it? But if you open yourself to the possibility that it's in you, logic also says that you're much more likely to find it. But do you have to find it, or can you just know that it's in you? And would knowing require something to confirm it? I mean, knowing's an interesting concept, isn't it?
Mm.
What is a pushing, pulling sensation, anyways?
Wanting, not wanting.
And is that a sensation?
Yeah. For me, it's a
Or is it
sensation.
a thought?
Clear sensation. Now, at the moment I said it, it was without thoughts. There were no clear thoughts.
So what is a sensation?
It's what you feel in your body.
Yeah. And then how do you know a sensation is pushing or pulling?
You feel it. You cannot say it. You feel it. Something you feel. I mean, you feel it in your body.
Can you describe how it feels?
As if there's a rope around you and someone's pulling or someone's pushing you. Really, it's clear for me. Wanting has this pulling quality, and not wanting has this pushing quality, pushing me away from itself.
Yeah, because for me it sounds like you feel sensations and then you interpret them and slap a label on them. Pushing and pulling.
I won't dismiss it. I won't dismiss what you say. Although
Which is basically thoughts.
Yeah. But sometimes there is no clear at this instance, there was no clear thought to tell me why is pulling me or pushing me. What is the wish? What is the what is this I want, for example, or I don't want. Nothing.
So
Really, just a sensation.
there's an invitation here then that could you consider what you call pushing and pulling sensations are habitual patterns of interpreting movements in your body, and that those interpretations can be looked closer at to see if it's actually pushing and pulling?
Yes. Everything can be looked closer. Yes. These two
I will do that.
movements. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. But sometimes I think I have thoughts that I don't formulate. Sometimes there are thoughts that have no content. You know, like before they are formulated, there are thoughts, but they are unclear and just like mumbling and jumbling in my head. Narration that doesn't tell anything. So these can also be thoughts for me. Maybe, yeah. Maybe there are things before maybe there are, how would I call them? Sensations plus thoughts. There are no thoughts, and they already have some content, but I didn't recognize that content.
Yeah, because the only way to give a sensation any meaning is that you have to interpret it, right? And
Yes.
the interpretation happens in thoughts.
You must be
Otherwise,
right.
it's just, let's say, I don't like to label it as energy, but let's use it now. It's energy moving in your body. It's you who's giving it the meaning.
You are right. I think
the thoughts are.
It has to be. It has to be. So this is the direction for me to look. Okay.
You can try it out at least.
Yes. Okay.
Good luck.
Thanks.
There's a fairly clear way that you can look at that, and that is simply to go beneath the labels about the feeling. So the idea of recognizing that a feeling is a sensation with stories, but don't get too wrapped up in that, but use that as a direction to look, so that what you'd simply do is you try and get much more intimate with the sensation. So if you start saying, I have this feeling that it feels like pulling or pushing, right? You then go, okay, where in the body is that sensation? And then you move closer to it, and then you go, what does it really feel like? Really, really, if I get really intimate with it, if I get really close to it, where is the sensation? What is it doing? How is it moving? Is it changing? Looking at all of those, and every time you slap a label on it, you look beneath the label and behind the label, and you get closer. And what the intention there is to, you know what you already know intellectually, and that is to discover, by getting really close to that sensation, that the sensation itself contains no information, no instructions. That sensation is, as Maria says, the idea of it pushing or pulling is because of the stories attached to it. And you're right, you can certainly have stories that don't manifest as thoughts. They they are from before those stories of that. So but they are what give the sensation meaning. So recognizing that when you get really close to the sensation, it will dissolve. Just before it dissolves, you very likely will see stories that are attached to it that give it meaning, but they'll drop off. And as you get really close, that sensation dissolves. It will reveal stuff underneath that, another feeling, which you can repeat that process with and go down there. But that's the intent. That's actually Theta 4 and 5 stuff, to get to recognize that there's no inherent instruction in sensations. That wanting doesn't exist as wanting. Wanting exists as a sensation with stories attached to it. Rejecting or resisting or any of the opposite of wanting, it's the same thing. It doesn't have any inherent existence. It is a sensation that seems to confirm stories, and stories that seem to confirm the sensation, but that's their attachment to each other. So if you discover that wanting to be awake is not something inherent in you, it's a story, and that story loses its power because it's seen to be just a story, what's left? What would be there then? When the pushing and pulling is gone, when the wanting or rejecting is gone, what's left?
Okay, this is a task for me. This is a task.
Yes. It's a discovery.
Okay.
How are you, Ramesh?
I'm just coming upstairs, just taking my breath. I had a question or two. They are related. I'm paying more attention to how to feel my thoughts, how to feel my experience more in a more physical way, like discovering what feels more comfortable, feels right, things that I haven't really noticed before. And my experience is changing a little. And I'm curious about how that change is happening. And my thought is like, I shouldn't really bother. Like, I don't understand how it's working. It doesn't matter. But I'm curious to know like how it happens, like from the thoughts are changing first, then the sensations, or the sensations are changing first? Is like the thoughts are mirroring whatever I'm feeling in the body, or is it possible to, if I change how I think, the sensation will respond as well? And I don't know if should I ask the next question?
Yeah.
I was just doing meditation now, and the thought that comes up, I was relaxed, and the thought that comes up is, this body will gonna be decay someday. And I felt this energy in the body just, and it's almost like my mind wants to shut down, like doesn't want to even look at this idea or this feeling, but I stayed with it to see what will happen. And nothing really happens. It's just, so the question is the fear of death a kind of a byproduct of seeing through the illusion, or like where to poke on this fear of death, like at the level of thoughts or in this sensation? Because in my experience, death is just a thought, it's just an image in my head, but it has an effect or seemingly related sensation.
Mm. On the first one, the how and the why questions are distractions, not worth getting into. Noticing that you are changing is where the value is. Trying to understand it is just a distraction. To try and work out why it's happening or how it's happening. There's no value there. In fact, that will take you away from where the value is, which is to appreciate that you are changing. On the second one, and we'll come back and go through them if you like, for sure. But on the second one, you're right. Yes, the fear of death comes from the thought. I mean, can anybody know death? I don't think so. Somebody can know and have an experience of dying, but nobody has an experience of being dead. So it can only be a thought. But yes, certainly we can have a reaction to those thoughts. But again,
Does the thought of death evoke any sensations or in you or feelings?
no, I don't experience anything about that. I have no concerns about it. I have no resistance to it. It has no appeal for me either. I recognise that I could get run over by a bus tomorrow, or I could discover that I've got cancer and I'm going to die in so many months or whatever. None of it makes any difference. It's just what is here is the only thing of interest.
Did it make a difference, or did it have an effect in the past?
I don't. I don't think so. I can't remember. Can't remember ever being afraid of dying. And I guess back in 1997, I had bowel cancer, and it was a big cancer. It was the size of a grapefruit when they operated, but I don't remember fearing dying. I guess maybe I'm unrealistically optimistic about that. But I mean, logically now, I'm 77, so, have I got another 10 years or 20 years left in me? I don't know. My body's not that healthy in a lot of ways, so maybe I don't have that. I have no idea, but I'm not afraid of it. It's like when it happens, it happens. So, but I don't know that that's anything to go by. Everybody's different, aren't they? I don't know. What about you, Tyler? Do you fear dying?
No, but I think I did. But I don't know why I don't know why you're asking, Ramis.
What did it change?
Because I used to think death was a real thing, so I was scared of it because it seemed real.
Did noticing that it is not real affected how you experience it, or you had an experience that the thoughts reflected by saying it's not real? Do you know what I mean?
No, there's no thought that says it's not real. It's not that I think it's not real now. It's just that, if there's a rope in a dark room and then you think it's a snake, and then you get scared and then you turn on the light and you see it's a rope, and then you're not scared anymore.
Are you afraid of dying or death, Remis?
I don't know. It's more, I can't comprehend it. I can't make sense of it. And it's when you say you see that snake as a rope, like I'm asking about like how to turn on the light kind of thing. Like the change. Like I understand what you mean when you say like I'm experiencing this change in different areas. Like I felt something about something and I see it in a different way that it changed how I feel about it. I can
Yeah.
understand the experience of a change, but
And then the thought of the
it,
thing doesn't evoke the emotion anymore, right?
yeah, it's like I'm
Yeah.
still
So
seeing the snake.
so when he asked you if you fear dying or death, and you don't know which one it is, and you can't even comprehend what dying or death are, why do you think you can't comprehend what they are?
I don't know. It just, I guess I have to die first to know.
Right? You have to experience something, or something has to be in experience to be comprehended.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ramiz, do you fear flying, flapping your wings and flying like a bird?
I used to dream about flying and it was fun. But I have fear of height at the same time.
Yeah, that was a bad example. I'm trying to think of something. Do you fear turning into a pink elephant?
No, I think I would be curious.
No, in real life, the actuality of you waking up tomorrow morning and finding that you're a pink elephant. Do you fear that?
No,
No. It's a stupid thing, isn't it? Of course you don't fear that. How is that any more actual than dying or death? They're not part of your experience, are they?
no,
Just as turning into a pink elephant is not part of your experience. And you don't fear that. But there's something different about those two things, isn't there? What's the connection? Turning into a pink elephant is ridiculous, but dying or being dead, not quite so ridiculous, is it?
one moment. Um, the only reference I have for this is just how it feels in the body, the visceral feeling that comes with it.
You've experienced this?
Whenever I come too close to the idea, somehow, um, when I think of it like an idea, it doesn't really have an effect. But when I feel into it, when I imagine it, or it's very weird. I can't explain it.
Would you say that the difference between that and the pink elephant story is that you give the death or dying one some credibility? There's a different
No,
attitude.
the pink elephant doesn't affect my body.
No, but the other one does. Now, to be clear, it's the thought about death or dying that you respond to, that you feel in your body. So what's the difference between that thought, and it is only a thought of death and dying? What's the difference between that thought and the thought of the turning into a pink elephant?
I can imagine a big pink elephant. I can't imagine death. I can have
What
images in my mind.
what else do you worry about? Do you worry about what other people think of you?
How is that relevant?
Just
What do you mean?
asking. Just what else makes you feel this kind of feeling? Fear, anxious?
So the one of the images also that comes to my mind is being naked, related to this. I don't know why.
So when
Like
you
I'm
imagine
completely unprotected, or and I just want to ask if this is, if any of you can relate to what I'm describing, because if you're not relating to what I'm saying, I don't think we're in the same page.
I get it, but I don't feel that way anymore.
I don't mean now. Like at least you experienced what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think most people do at some point.
So how what made the snake appear as a robe for you? Like that's what I'm curious about.
Seeing how death is on the same level as becoming a pink elephant. Because I don't fear turning into a pink elephant, because turning into a pink elephant is not in my experience. It's just something that I can imagine, it's a thought. And when I think about it, I don't believe that it's something that can actually happen, because it's not happening, it's not in my experience. And it's the same thing with death. And everything you fear, and everything that makes you angry or anxious, you can think about it and it can create these emotions. But is the thing you're thinking about in your experience? Or is it appearing as a thought on the same level as turning into a pink elephant?
Did you ever believe that pink elephant was real as death?
No.
Why did you believe in death? What made it appear believable?
Well, it's a very popular concept. People talk about death a lot.
If I may interrupt,
Believing your
people
thoughts.
people die around us. We see other people die. we didn't see anyone turning to a pink elephant. So identifying with other people and what happened to them.
But you don't really know what happened to them.
Yeah, other people don't really die the way it's commonly talked about and thought about. There isn't really a thing called people dying.
It is true that we don't know what happened to them, but it's also a fact that they disappear around us. They are in our lives and then they aren't. And we suffer loss. This is another part of the story. But it's not about dying, it's about our loss and feelings of loss.
Which is also just want to point out without kind of disregarding it, but that is also beliefs and stories and thoughts about what that means, right?
Yes, yes.
We believe or assume some kind of collective, maybe not even collective, but we have this assumption about knowing what death is when we have no idea what death is. So it's the actual thought that we believe and the sensation that comes from the belief in that thought.
So is the more important question who's believing the thought?
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. I kind of wanted to bring us back there as well, because I feel like a lot of the times when I'm listening into these meetings, we get lost in mental masturbation about things that is not really helpful, maybe. I don't know. It could be helpful, but it could also just recognizing them as thoughts would save us a lot of work, I think.
I find it easy to not believe Ramez's thoughts, but not so much my own. But then I ask, well, who is it believing the thoughts? Because this resonated. There's a lot of frustration, and I was trying to get under it a little bit, and fear, just sick of being afraid of life. And I don't think I'm afraid of death. Like, I don't even know what that is. It's I'm afraid of not living, or that, you get to Vince's age and you just haven't lived your life, and you feel like there's always this mental thought or idea that you need to get to a milestone where you can say, I did it. I've lived, I've achieved a life or a living or some shite that then I'll be happy. And that never seems to come. More thoughts, I know.
You fear not living?
Not living well, not living properly, not mastering life, or, they're just ways of pointing to it.
Are you living
I
well
don't feel
now?
like I'm fully here. No, absolutely not. No, I was out the back. We had a storm here, and everything's blown over, and paint got spilt, and I'm cleaning up, and I'm trying to listen, and while I'm cleaning up from the storm, and then I just hear Marius saying about me being awake again, and it just shocked me. I was like, I'm used to hearing that from Vince, and he clarifies why he says it, but I'm like, what's this guy talking about? Uh, if this is awake, Jesus Christ.
I love that.
I'm inclined to agree.
But I mean, it's not bad. Like it's just like it's ordinary. It's nothing's going on. There's not like the spiritual ability to be spiritual and do practice and try things other than watching videos is just gone. I don't know what to fucking do. Um, People around me wouldn't tell me in any shape or form I'm anyway awake. So I just find it very, very hard to believe. And then I'm like, well, why is the universe telling me I'm awake in different ways? Is it just to frustrate me? I don't know. But there's been no evidence here that there's any awakenings or awake or and even awake. Saying awake is like the beginning. It's like getting your black belt. Then you really start to learn. So you have awakening and you have what people talk about, Maja or Angelo liberation, so something more deep. But even when you talk about awake, I'm like, well, I don't know I'm awake. I don't feel awake. I just feel frustrated, angry, fearful, um, and I'm trying to work on clearing those things out.
I
And
don't
I'm
know I'm
working
awake.
on it. Hmm?
I don't know I'm awake.
Good for you, Tyler.
You too.
Yeah, but hold on. You you can say things that I can't say. You- That's
So that means what?
but I can't tell who's awake or who's not awake. I can speculate. I can if you build up enough hours with somebody, you can kind of go, that guy's awake. Like, and even when I say awake, it's like just that guy's clear. He's helpful. That girl, whatever. It's
I can't tell.
yeah, that makes more sense then that you can't tell. So that's what I wanted to ask. You know, I suppose I've talked to Vince about it a few times, but why Marius would say it. Maybe it's not important. I wanted to ask Marius about the kind of boundaries issue and feelings of frustration and boundaries. And I think you were saying, Marius, there might be some subtle beliefs or some hidden beliefs still operating. I'm curious about that and trying to see those beliefs.
Yeah, I what I what I was curious about, why I asked you that question is I can't remember exactly what you said in or in the last meeting that I was listening into, but I had a feeling that you were um, either being or doing being in a place you didn't want to be or doing something you didn't want to do, like a part of your old, let's say, self construct was um, a sort of mm, in conflict with where you're moving right now. So you're kind of
Yeah,
there's a frustration building up because you have a belief in a story, a subtle story maybe, that I shouldn't be here, or I shouldn't be doing this. This is wrong. I should feel better.
yeah. I feel like I'm in with that last one. I should feel better. That definitely feels true. I should feel better. I should should be healthier, I should be more active. I feel like I'm kind of in a waiting room somewhere, and life's just passing by, and I'm waiting for the enlightenment train so I can get on it and live life. Or well, I tried getting off the track a few times, and you just end up back on the track. But I do feel like I'm in a waiting space. There's nothing particular. Like I'm not looking to get out of my family life or move to the hills, or I work now and I have a job, and that's fine. If I didn't have to work, I probably wouldn't. But life is what it is. But I still feel like I'm just waiting for something to happen.
But you say life is what it is, and at the same time, you're saying you're waiting for it to become better. And it is exactly that waiting, the anticipation of something else that is creating the frustration and the resistance you're feeling.
Right. Yeah. And part of that is waiting to wake up, or waiting to have an experience or a shift, or
It's an
some experience.
expectation.
Yeah.
You believe that awakening is something else than it is. You're trapped in seeking for something else than what it is now. And that feels like shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice when you just in the moment just give up and just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. It is really only that expectation that needs to be dropped.
So it's the expectation that I'm waiting for something.
Other than what is.
Yeah, and preferably in the side of better than what is. Not
Yes.
worse.
Exactly. If you can just look in your experience in every moment and see this is it, and be okay with that, you're awake.
And there's a
Yeah,
really interesting twist to that. The really interesting twist is that you can look at what is and go, this is it. And what is can include that you want something else.
Yes.
okay. Now that's a bit. There's different types of wanting then, because there's a contracted sort of fearful, emotional wanting to be different or being frustrated. So I don't know what the other one looks like that you can be totally accepting now, but
I think it also would be helpful just to add to Vince there that you also recognize that. You recognize that there is a story of wanting something else.
Maybe Dennis is not doing enough effort to exhaust himself. You're not trying your best, Dennis. You should try
Try
more.
harder.
well, you know what? Yeah, there's a bit of that going on too. Like I keep thinking about sitting down and doing a few hours a day meditation or something, but I'm like, oh. I noticed stuff in the body lately, though. I noticed sort of, I feel like my body's going to explode at some point with vibrations and thunder and lightning and
Explosions are fun.
but the core, like at the core of everything, is that worry, that fear, which then, when you're worried about things, you're afraid of things going wrong, or you whatever work or a project, and you're worrying, it's all thinking. You're thinking, you're futuring, and it just fucking makes you just so sick of it. Like I just want that to be gone, and then there's a fearlessness that can just erupt, and that's living.
What if everything, all of that included what you said, is living? Just your attitude towards the stuff that you seem not to want is kind of creating an illusion that that is not how life's supposed to be.
Yeah, you mentioned that actually. This whole idea again of everything's just automatically happening, and there's nothing essentially we can do. Life is just being. But if you're aware that it's kind of going in the wrong direction, as in ideally you wouldn't like it to go that way, and it is going that way. So there's that frustration to accept. Well, as an example, you know, oh, you've lost your job, you've lost your house, you've got overweight, you've got sick, you've lost your friends, and you're like, oh, life is just happening. Accept it. Like it's kind of hard to just go, oh, this is God's will, blah blah blah. You're trying to change it, and then you're saying you can't change it, so you're like, okay,
Yeah, we
what
we
to
were
do?
we have discussed, the illusion of free will before, right? Have you? Where are you with that?
And I think I still have will, free will.
Yeah.
You'll have to repeat the discussion for me to.
It
Well,
didn't stick for
well,
me anyway.
what makes you think you have free will? Or what makes you believe nothing? Sorry.
I don't know. That's the first answer. I don't know. Um, I don't run out in front of cars every chance I get.
So a person who doesn't have free will runs out in the street and get hit by a car, or
But that might be a sign of free will, actually. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
the fact that you don't know why you believe that is a very good place to start.
it's like you're saying, how do you know you're a person? And I'm like, well, yeah, we don't even think about it. We're just people. We don't even question it. It's like you don't even question it. You just free will. Yeah, yeah. Look, I've just lifted my hand up. Look, free will. There you go.
And for
There's
Ronald's,
clearly some. Yeah, go on, Tom.
no, you go first.
I was just going to say, it's clearly some resistance there then as to actually explore free will, because we've been talking about it at least 2 or 3 meetings that I've been a part of. And it's really, at least in my experience, it was a lot easier to accept what is when I understood that I'm not in control. So that's why I kind of keep trying to hammer that down.
Yeah, I'm not unwilling to explore it. I don't know how, I don't know where to begin.
Well, the first thing that might be valuable is to define. Now, I find it easier to talk about control than to talk about free will. It's just more definable, this idea of control. And
Yeah, that makes sense.
let me put it to you also that if I say we don't have control, that does not mean that we're out of control. And so the opposite doesn't exist either. So neither control nor out of control exist as something. What we're talking about with control is the ability to carry out intention. And if you've ever had an intention and then not carried it out, is that enough to say that control doesn't exist?
No, what happens then is you have thoughts about it and you beat yourself up that you didn't do what you were going to do. So you continue the illusion by believing the next set of thoughts that come in about the thing you didn't do
Yep.
and you should have done it.
Right. So isn't it a bit of an oxymoron to say I have control, but sometimes I don't have control? Wouldn't
I
it?
think it's
Isn't
truer to say I think I have control. But when
yes?
you said the word control, it's easier to kind of relate to everyday life. Like I want to be fitter and healthier and eat better diet, but then I can notice myself eating a packet of crisps, and I'm like, oh, well, I thought I had control to do this, but I don't. So
Hmm.
it's a frustration because there's a conflict going on. And then you're like, oh my God, am I going to be the guy who just eats crisps for the rest of his life now? Is this what's going to happen with this process?
Yes, that's saying if I don't have control, I must be out of control. Therefore, I'll eat every crisp I come across.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to ask, Dennis, do you feel like you have control over your thoughts? What thoughts come up? Can you go back in
No,
the thought vault and pick and choose what thoughts you want?
no, I can sometimes see thoughts coming in, or a thought will come in, and some thoughts I'll express in words, or some I won't, depending on the rest of the environment and what's going on. But no, I don't pick and choose thoughts. And then sometimes
And,
I'm aware I'm talking without thoughts.
and so wouldn't you need thoughts or control over your thoughts to kind of control what thoughts you have about what you want or what you will or what you have control over? Like, wouldn't it need to be a thought before some kind of action, some kind of intention?
No,
If
because I
you don't
want to
have
say that,
control over that, sorry,
yeah,
go on.
yeah, no, the way I want to describe it is there's a greater awareness than thoughts. So there's the awareness that observes thoughts, no thoughts, emotions, no emotions, action, no action. Uh, I don't know. I'm trying to get control of that.
Would you find it easy to say that there is no control, no actual control in operation, but there is the illusion of control in operation?
I could say that, but at this point I don't really want to even say that because it's like a halfway house.
So is your reluctance to say that there is no control pointing to what that would mean? So the issue isn't about control or no control at all, but rather what it means if you admit that you've got no control.
But who are we talking about? Like, it's me. I mean, to me, the controller is me, and I am the problem. And when I disappear, the controller will disappear.
Mm. So when you say that they will disappear, if they never existed, how can they disappear? All we have is a recognition that they never existed. Nothing changes, just our recognition. Everything will continue to happen the way it always has, which means that sometimes you'll have the illusion of control and sometimes you'll have the illusion of no control or failure to control. But they're just a description of something that's not even that accurate.
Is it as simple as where you're looking from? If you're perceiving through kind of clear awareness, it's fine. Everything is just okay. But if you perceive through the filters of thoughts, that's when things go to shit, where you think you have control or you're frustrated because something didn't go your way.
Right.
Like,
So have you had the first experience?
well, yeah,
That,
that's when everything is just fine.
When you say nothing goes your way, do you think the issue is in you or in the circumstances around you?
Well, this is where conditioning and a shitload of beliefs all come in together. That's like 40 years of cherry picked beliefs hit you at the one time that you're not, you deserve this, you're no good, it just feels like the conditioning hits you, so you're to blame, as opposed to it just being the world.
So, do you know what you want?
I want to not be afraid of life.
And what do you think? Why do you think you are afraid?
Because I believe fearful thoughts, when they come, and I interpret sensations in the body as problematic, and I fear death. I fear death sometimes. Not that sometime in the future I'm actually going to die, but that I'm going to die now soon. And I feel like I haven't got going yet in life properly. So all these are just, I know these are just thoughts, but they're the
So
thoughts
do you
that
believe
come in.
you can't make what you want happen? Do you think you can do that? That it's a fault in you that you can't actually achieve what you want. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, yeah, I believe lots of things around that. That I was done in from when I was a kid. So yeah, damaged goods.
So if you wake up dead tomorrow morning, will you care about what you've achieved or not achieved?
Yeah, I'll be heartbroken. Yeah. Yeah, this is the funny thing about it, isn't it?
But back to my question also, Dennis, I just really want you to answer clearly on this. If you
Right.
can't control your thoughts, how can you control your intention and your actions?
I can't get to the answer of the. What I want to say is, so how can you control your intentions if you can't control your thoughts? So there's negative thoughts. There's thoughts that worry you. There's thoughts that you would rather not be here. And then there's positive thoughts that come in, and there's affirmations, and oh yeah, let's get out and go for a 5K run every day. And that's a good thought. And so there's those ones you kind of get behind and go, yeah, I believe you, and we go for that, and then we don't go for the run. So how do I? If I can't control my thoughts, how do I believe? What was the second part?
So to take your example then, right? So why do some of the thoughts kind of work out, or why do you follow some of the thoughts that you're willing to do? Is that what, or that you're wanting to do? Is that what I'm hearing you saying or asking?
No, that I'm just describing what I feel like I'm doing in relation to thoughts. I'm resisting some. I'm frightened of some. Some are negative and feels like they create emotional states, whereas others
Mhm.
are positive affirmations and thoughts and things that seem like they're good thoughts to believe. Go to bed, get some sleep. Okay, go out for a run. So there's all that going on, and I forgot the second half of your question then.
Okay, so
If I
so
can't control my thoughts,
so aren't those thoughts mm, produced by life meeting your set of conditioning?
yeah, thoughts are produced. I can get behind that idea that thoughts are produced by life. So if I see a person and a thought might arise because of that set of conditions, where I am in the world, who I'm with, what's going on. Yeah,
Right. And do you have you had control over your conditioning, both psychological and biological?
no, I'd like to think I have, but in truth, I haven't.
Exactly. So where in all of that is your control?
I don't know.
So take that one step further. Is there actual control in all of that? Just saying you don't know where it is doesn't mean that there's not any there, or there is some there. Is there some there?
Well, what comes up is who's the controller? My brain is going to that question. Who's this controller that could control?
Well, what's your answer to that question? Is there a who somewhere? Is if there's a controller, is there a who? Is the who and the controller the same thing? If there's no controller, is there no who as well? You did link the two together before, didn't you?
So that's just another thought.
Well, it's all thought, isn't it? No, it's not true, is it? No, it's thought and responses to thought.
So it feels like it's all thought, and it's whether you believe it or not, or whether thought is believed.
So what is it to believe a thought? Just to have other thoughts around that thought? Other thoughts about that thought? What is to believe a thought?
Oh, that was another thought.
Hmm. And do you believe that thought? So that got ridiculous in 2 steps, let alone going to 3 or 4.
I'm afraid to open my mouth now.
Yes, yes. You can't, can you? Because whatever comes out of it is just going to be more thoughts, eh? So what's left? What is actually there if you don't open your mouth? Even further, if you don't open your mouth and you don't think thoughts, what's left?
Peace,
Say again?
peace.
Peace? Well, peace is not something, is it? It's the opposite that's not there that you're calling peace. But it's a lack of whatever the opposite of peace is. That's peace is the peace is that stuff that's not there, isn't it? Peace itself is nothing.
Well, yeah, I'm just putting a word on nothing, silence.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. Yeah.
What feels most intriguing to explore for you right now?
Nothing. Right now, nothing. Um, I have to turn on the thought train again if I want to answer that question.
Mm.
Like I feel quite still and okay. But I still can't say, oh, I've dropped free will, or the idea that I have free will.
Well, just don't. Those things are irrelevant to anything. What is there now seems fine until you start thinking about that stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a there's a there's a bottom line, and that is that everything is always okay until you start thinking about it. So that leads you to the idea that, oh, I shouldn't think about it. But thinking happens. So what happens then? What do you do then? All of a sudden thinking happens, and like Rum is thinking about dying and death has a response. You're thinking about what you've achieved or haven't achieved or whatever also has a response. So
It
how do
feels
you,
like,
yeah, go on.
yeah, no, just to answer the question, like, and I'm going to use an analogy. It's like you're sitting back in a chair, peaceful and quiet. And when thoughts come along, it's like you have a choice. Do you get out of the chair and dance, or do you stay sitting in the chair? But then that still comes up as a sort of an idea around free will, that you have a choice. So if there is no choice, then whether I get sucked into a thought train or not is just what's happening.
Exactly. Yeah, and this is a really, really big one. That's exactly right. You don't control whether thoughts come along to disrupt the peace that's there before you had the thought. So if thoughts come along and do that, what is a skillful, appropriate response? We're just talking theory here. What options are open to you, even though it's not like you can actually choose an option, but what options are likely to present themselves to you? You're
Well,
sitting in the chair.
there might be a more enlightened thought that says, you don't need to do this, or you don't need to.
Well, need
You
is
don't
not
need.
an issue. That's another story, isn't it? Do we need or not need, right? The reality is that these thoughts have turned up. You're sitting in the chair, you're feeling comfortable, all of a sudden these thoughts have come along that if you respond to them are going to take you out of that wonderful place you were in before they turned up. Unless another thought comes along that says, they're only thoughts. You don't need to take any notice of them. That's a possibility. Now, you don't control whether that thought comes along, but there's an option that it will. And that option is more likely because we've discussed it.
But I've had the thought, who's noticing the thoughts? And you follow that thought, you start to look at who's noticing. But that's
Yeah,
just another thought.
yeah. But when you follow that other thought, does that take you to a place where you go, there's no one there to have it? No one there to respond to it? It could be just bypassing. It could be that you come to a logical conclusion that there is no one there and therefore you don't feel it, but you still believe something else. So we're talking about the quality of that one. that is an option, that thought that says who's there having the thought, and you already know that there's no one there to have the thought. That might be a way to stop the thought. But there's a
Yeah.
difference here between that stopping the thought because that's a reminder of a recognition that you've had, which should be appropriate. But if it takes you to a logical conclusion that there's no one there and therefore you can ignore that thought, that's bypassing. That's not a good way to go. So have you recognized that there's no one there?
No, that's what I was going to say. That feels like the very first sort of, is it a fetter?
Yep.
So I
Yep.
can't
So
say I
don't
have.
use that one. Don't use that one until you've recognized it, because that's just bypassing.
Yeah, no, it feels like who's having the thought as a thought sets up, creates the thinker. And so you kind of find yourself straining the muscles in your head, looking for a center, a silent center that's observing the thought. But then you're like, well, who's doing this? It just becomes, you just get a pain in your head then.
Have you recognized in the past that all of your thoughts are just worthless bullshit?
I think I've known that, like, I feel like know it now, but it's not a permanent thing. In other words, I have these moments of clarity where everything's okay and thoughts are, you don't need to play with them. But
Yep. Okay. Go. Good. 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 Okay. So back to the watermelon analogy. Okay. You want watermelon. You look in the fridge. There's no watermelon there. You shut the fridge. You walk away. Do you turn around and go back and look in the fridge because you still want watermelon? Or do you go, I know there's none there, so I know, but no point in looking? How many
yeah,
times are you going to go back and check?
a lot. Uh,
I mean, it's a giant watermelon. You can't miss it. If there's one in the fridge, you're going to see it. If there's none there, you're going to recognise that there's none there. But you're going to go back and look again and again, are you?
well, that's what I've been doing. Uh,
Only because you didn't believe that what you saw the first time was accurate.
Or that you didn't
maybe,
look good enough, maybe.
yeah,
There's
maybe.
a belief that you can look some more, like there's just, oh, maybe I didn't check that last little bit of a corner of the fridge. Maybe the watermelon is there.
Maybe
Then
it's
you
hiding behind a carton of milk.
Yeah.
I'm lost now. I don't know what we're doing.
But Dennis, I think
Yeah.
the watermelon, like, do you think it would be helpful to explore rather than just exploring thoughts, but what sensations you perhaps don't want to feel that is provoking you to believe in thoughts?
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Marius. It feels like there's something bodily that's pushing buttons and driving the car, the body, emotions, tightness. Yeah, there's feelings. So yeah,
So there's this habitual movement from there first being an uncomfortable sensation and then going up to the head to try to solve it, to get rid of it. Would
yes,
that be accurate?
yeah,
Yeah. So if we know that is a habit, and you know that going up to the head hasn't worked for most of your life, maybe all of your life.
yeah,
Maybe by discussing this, as Vince said, pointing out that it's actually the sensation that is triggering your movement up to the head, to actually just stay and face the sensation and accept it.
yeah,
Accept what is, because the sensation is there, right? So it's what is. And since you've tried to solve it by thinking most of your life, maybe another way to go about this is to just be with what is, which is the sensation.
yeah. No, I agree. And this has been something, even at these meetings, we've talked about quite a bit. And every now and then I do a little bit of this. I'm going to call it work, but I don't feel like I do enough of it or make it into a practice that would speed things up. But yeah,
Because the reason why I ask you this is because this was a huge thing for me. I was unwilling to just accept that I'm feeling uncomfortable. So my go-to move was to think some way out of it, which only perpetuated the uncomfortableness.
yeah. And I've been feeling uncomfortable for a long time. I suppose it's a big part of the unhappiness that's here.
And maybe also explore if there is a belief that uncomfortable sensation shouldn't be a part of your life, that they somehow don't have the same right to be there as pleasurable sensations.
Yeah, that triggers stuff. It feels like I suppressed a lot of emotions and sensations when I was younger for safety. And then when you said pleasurable, it's out of balance.
I have a weird suggestion. How about instead of thinking your thoughts, you test your thoughts.
Yeah. But the minute you said that, I'm out of thoughts and in the body. And it does feel like, while there's clarity, let's say, in the head, which isn't true, the body isn't caught up. So yeah, guys, I'll work on feeling what I'm avoiding feeling, and just let's see how this goes.
Yeah, feel it, but also not like you have control of this, but also it's also about accepting the feelings that are there, like welcoming them as a part of the same. They have the same right to be there as pleasurable thoughts. They're as a big. They're as the same part of life as pleasurable thoughts. I mean sensations. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I certainly wouldn't suggest that you discriminate about which thoughts or which sensation even. Rather examine what is there and accept whatever it is that you discover.
Yeah.
Ramesh, it occurs to me that I have this feeling that we kind of left you up in the air a little bit with your question about death and dying. But let's come back to that after next time, or so on, after you've had a little more experience with that one. I suspect that we've stirred things a little bit there, so let's see how it settles, and we'll come back to it, eh? You feel okay about that?
Yeah, sure.
And I really liked your weird suggestion about tasting thoughts. I thought that was excellent. That was a really good one. Um, yeah. It suggests that thoughts have a flavour, and that flavour is truth or not, or other things. Yeah, it's a good one. Okay, well, I'm going to pull the plug. It's almost midnight here, getting close to it. So, and boy, I think we've poked the bear significantly tonight, Dennis. I think that'll, who knows what will happen there, eh? Good stuff.
Thanks, Baz.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Maja. That was great. Mm.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Marius.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you, Marius. That was, an excellent night. Loved it.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Okay. See you next
See you
time.
next time.
Bye.
Bye bye.